Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's a Tuesday edition, and you know what that means. That means good old buddy Martin will join us. Second portion of the program, we have Vernell Brown, former Gator, who now works for the Gator football team, join us as well. But let's go ahead and kick this program off and go straight to the Titan MR hotline. And we're joined by Buddy Martin. You can follow him on Twitter at Buddy Show. Good morning, Buddy. How are you?
Good morning to you, Shane, and I hope you had a good Father's Day. I know it's you got a lot going on there, and I hope you're safe and sound.
All good here. Yeah, it was a good weekend. Speaking of the weekend, got to watch a lot of more professional golf on the PGA Tour. What another wonderful tournament with a lot of good players fighting it down to the wire. Webb Simpson wins it. I don't know if it's because there's nothing else to watch on TV, but I'm really enjoying this PGA Tour right now.
Let's take a lesson from that. It's called minimalist, and maybe what it is that it's like having food when you got none on the table and you finally get some. It's really great. You enjoy it more when you've been on a diet. There's something about this austerity that we're going through with where we really appreciate the small things, and I can understand why you getting your golf bag was a big deal. And I watched it for a while, but it got too late, so I had to go eat dinner with my son and his daughter. But had a great Father's Day.
Well, also, NASCAR. There was some news that came out of NASCAR in Talladega. Obviously, someone put a noose in the garage of Bubba Wallace, which with the lack of people being at this event, buddy, security everywhere. They have to know who put this in there eventually, right?
Yeah, that was a major fail on NASCAR's part. And of course, it's the worst possible thing you could do. I think people are outraged about it, not just mad. And this is a good sample where we start today on something I want to say. When you get something terrible and make something out of it, it's like, take it and use it to motivate you to do something better. And what they did at Talladega yesterday, responding with Richard Petty, 82 years old, getting in his plane and flying down his first race in 5 years, exposing himself to COVID, by the way. And to back up his driver, Bubba Wallace, he has an African-American driver with his number on the car, 43. And what happened next, you saw the pictures with the pit crews and all the drivers pushing his car to the front, was a wonderful example of trying to do something, not just say something and make a positive out of it. Will it take it away? No, NASCAR's got a lot of things to fix, but I love that scene. That will be one of the great scenes I've ever seen of those drivers in the pit crew pushing Bubba Wallace's car to the front.
Yeah, it was awesome. No question about it. Some news broke last week, buddy, and we haven't been able to speak with you since then. And obviously, you're the owner of Gatorbait Magazine, Gatorbait Media. The president here at the University of Florida banned the chant Gatorbait. Now, I got my own personal opinion about this. I've got issues with it. I understand the chant has been around longer than you've been around, basically, and it just now comes out about something that happened in the 1800s or what have you. Not one person in the world knew about that, it seems like, and not one person in the world thought about that when they chanted Gatorbait at a football game. Your thoughts on that, buddy?
Well, I'm conflicted about it, and I want to do the right thing, and I don't want to do anything that's knee-jerk. And so we've retained an agency to do a survey for us, and a study, not just a survey, not a popular vote, but to look into what we need to do with our name Gatorbait. I'm not taking it lightly. And I feel a responsibility to look deep dive into this and find out about it. We need to educate ourselves better. The fact this has happened over 100 years ago, and nobody I know ever talked about it. I've never known of a case of it. Indicates to me that there's a breakdown somehow. How did we not know about it till now? Now, I don't agree with a lot of things being done right now, with statues being torn down, etc. And I don't agree with anything like that. I certainly hate and deplore any of the acts that we've seen, like in NASCAR. But you can't fake outrage. You can talk about it and act it out and be politically correct, but you got to really think, what can I do? And I love this thing is on my office door. You can't see it, which I think we could all do better if we read this literally. It's from Maya Angelou, the great poet, as you know, she's done wonderful work. Do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. I think that says it right there. So, do we know better? And if we do, we got to do better. And we got to do better anyway. We know we got to do better. And the question is how and when and what, and not just something that's knee jerk. And I got a wonderful letter from an African American reader yesterday that I was going to share a little bit with you about. And then I'll talk to you about some things I'd like, if I may. It's your show. I'm not trying to run it. I think we have to say, if you do better, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do? Tear down a statue, maybe put up a statue. Well, I got some thoughts about that. And I want people to think about this. What are you willing to give to sort of do the right thing, to do better? Okay, my Angelou's words, do better. What is do better? Individually, what is do better? And I'm trying to find that out for myself. And I'm going to find that out for my readers and listeners. And I pledge that I'm going to do better, whatever that is. And I'm willing to sacrifice whatever I have to sacrifice. I mean, the name, any of it, I'm willing to do it. And I think it starts with our heart. So when you do the best you can and you know better, then you do better. I think that says it all right there.
No, I agree, buddy. And it's interesting, especially in the Southeastern Conference. There's so many different traditions, different chants, what have you, from different schools. I wonder, there's a chant that LSU does where they salute the Chinese bandits from what they call their defense way back in the day.
National champion team.
Yeah, and
All
it's
diesel.
it's just it's difficult because, like you said, you want to do the right thing, and by all means we do. But I personally feel like if we play football this year, the Gator Bait chant is going to be louder than it ever has been in the swamp. Because I do not think not one person ever, well, obviously no one knew about this, but I don't think anyone thinks about what happened in 100 and something years ago when they say this chant. So
I understand. If I could just comment on that real quick, Shane, interrupting you. I think what we have to ask ourselves is, can we dig deep and find out in our hearts what is the right thing to do, and not let political rhetoric or any personal prejudice, and we have it. I'm a prejudiced person. I've been racist in my lifetime with some things I've said and done. I'm going to confess it. Am I proud of it? No. Would I like to do a better job? Yes. The question is, what do I do and how do I do it? And Trey yesterday wrote me this letter, and I love this. If I can read a paragraph just real quick. He said, I recently learned of the origin of the Gator Bait name. As a Black man and a human being, I was disgusted, and I was in favor of the U.S. president's decision. After a couple of days to think about it, I have come to this conclusion. It's a good thing these facts came to surface, but I will bet my next check that on Saturdays, Gator Nation is thinking of the horrific origin of the chomp while doing the cheer. I believe this is a case of a negative being turned into a positive. Hopefully cooler heads prevail. Thanks, Trey. What do you think of that?
No, I mean, I like that. I thought it was very well said. I still don't know how many people are going to think about what Gator Bait means from the,
Well, that's okay. Whatever it means to you.
Yeah. I get it. It's very interesting because, I grew up, buddy, going to Ole Miss games where the cheerleaders, back in the day, they used to throw out, little plastic footballs or pom-poms. They used to throw out rebel flags to the entire stadium. And I never once thought about what the rebel flag meant. To me, it meant it was the flag for the University of Mississippi. It's like their flag. And I understand where the Black athletes have a problem with it. There's no question about it. But then again, look at all the Black athletes that went and played there. It obviously didn't bother them. But the state of Mississippi's got to get rid of their state flag in some capacity. But it's interesting to me because I know there's a lot of chants that you can really dissect in the SEC that may have to go away. And It's a tough pill to swallow just because I like the atmosphere at all these different ballparks, and it's definitely going to be different in the swamp, no question about it.
I think you speak for a lot of people. The question is, are you willing to have the difficult conversation with yourself about how far are you willing to reach down? A lot of black people say, I have to have that conversation with my son or my daughter. Meaning what? Theirs is a total different meaning. Meaning when you were stopped by police, and here are the things you do not do. And you got to tell them. You may get stopped 5 times. You may get, you may be abusive in language. You never put your hands down in your pockets, and so on. A black friend of mine says he used to, every time he got in the car, put his wallet on the dashboard. Why? Because when you're stopped by a cop, if you reach for your pocket, it could cost you your life.
Mm.
So his wallet went right there. So we have to remember life is different for black people. And you can call it white privilege or whatever you want to call it. I don't care. And the institutions, the traditions, the statues, all the traditions that you and I love about college football are under assault.
Yeah, they are.
If I may, can I give you, I don't know what our time situation is, that you want to comment, go ahead. But I was just going to say, may I give you a question to ask as a Gator fan? What are the things you, as a lover of tradition, and Shane, you really love them. You're a uniform guy. You love everything about tradition of Ole Miss football. And people don't got to remember Ole Miss football. When Johnny Vogt was the coach there, they were kings, man. They won 6 SECs. Johnny Vogt did. They had they were national champions. They weren't the Ole Miss you know today. They were the Alabama of their day, back under Johnny Vogt, back in the 50s and early 60s. So here's the deal: the songs, the statues, the traditions, the cheers that you love the most, what are they? And then are you willing to give them up? So let's start with you.
Well, yeah. I'm just going by what I grew up with. I grew up with going to Ole Miss games. They played Dixie. Well, the school band Dixie. The band's not allowed to play that. And you spoke. I mean, some of my best friends are black, buddy, and I have spoken with them. I've played golf with them, in the last few days, and they have a problem with the Gator Bait going away.
Yeah.
They're like, they've never heard of it. And even though what it stands for or means 100 years ago, they still want to hear it. So I think you have mixed emotions among the black athletes, or maybe just the general public, but regardless. What was your question? Some of my favorite?
Well, I wanted you to specifically on the Gators.
Oh, the Gators.
And I think, by the way, I'd love to hear 2 or 3 of your African-American friends on the show with you.
Yeah.
And you leading a discussion. And let's not tilt it in one way or the other. Let's just say, dig deep and tell us, when you know better, you do better. In fact, Terrence Barber, I believe, is the one who put that on his Facebook page. And I plan to have him on the show. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. All right. What are we going to do? Do better is to look at the traditions, the ones we love the most at the University of Florida, and say, am I willing to change this? Am I willing to drop this? And I said, statues, songs, cheers, and any other tradition at Florida that you know about. What are your favorites? And I want you to go first. I'll tell you mine. What are they? And then what are you willing to change, and what are you willing to give up?
Well, I mean, I think We Are the Boys is pretty cool. It's very similar to what Texas A&M does, with the whole stadium swing. But I've had people tell me that they think that's going to end up getting taken away as well. I love the Gator Bait chant. I just think it's unique. But obviously, that won't be around.
It'll be around. This won't be sanctioned.
Right.
You hear it louder than ever.
Yeah. I mean, I love running out of the tunnel. Here come the Gators. I guess that's okay. We can keep doing that. There's really nothing I want to change from a Saturday afternoon in the swamp, honestly.
Are you willing to give up any of that stuff? What about, let's take the statues. You got 3 statues out front there of the most famous players ever played in Florida. What if somebody said to you, How come there are no African American players out there?
Well, none of them won a Heisman Trophy would be my first answer.
Mhm.
Why those three people are there. There are African Americans in the Ring of Honor. Now, if they want to add a few, I have zero problem with that because we have some tremendous African American athletes that deserve a statue. Um,
Who?
who? Oh goodness. I mean, you could say Emmett. You know, Emmett's the all-time leading rusher in the National Football League. I don't know if that has to pertain to what he did at Florida. Um, Wilbur Marshall, Lomas Brown. I mean, these are guys that are going to be in the Ring of Honor. Eric Rett's our all-time leading rusher. I mean, Fred Taylor was a tremendous. He may be our best all-time running back, honestly. Um, Gosh, I mean, I'm sure there's guys back in the 70s or 60s that deserve it. But yeah, I mean, the only reason
Carlos Alvarez would be the only one you didn't mention, in my opinion.
well, yeah, Carlos needs to be in the Ring of Honor. It's ridiculous that he's not in the Ring of Honor. It's totally.
By the way, he is a minority, just in case you might not understand that. He's Hispanic, he's Cuban. Well, that's a good list. And that's what I'm talking about now. We're having that difficult conversation.
Yeah,
we're willing to have this difficult conversation. I agree with you 100%. And I'll just go on record as saying I think Emmett needs to be out there. I mean, I'm not a huge fan, but I think you got to be out there.
I would have a serious issue, buddy. And I think if you didn't have an issue, you have some serious problems. If Emmett or Eric Rett or somebody won the Heisman Trophy and they didn't have a statue out there, I'd go do whatever I had to do to put a statue out there because that would be a serious problem.
Well, here's my question. Is it a trophy for Heisman Trophy winners? I mean, statue. I've never heard that. So I think we need to go back and see what is the qualification for having a statue, just like there's a qualification for the Ring of Honor. And if that's the qualification, if it's a Heisman statue thing, great. I don't think that's what it is, though. And I think that needs to be reread and gone over and evaluated. And if it isn't, then there needs to be a song. And by the way, a lot of names of players are outside on the stadium, including yours, your years, your All-American years, and so on. The question that comes is, what is the determining factor for getting a person recognized? And now, if you're serious about digging deep, you're serious about saying, when you know better, do better, then you have to say, okay, Emmett belongs out here with the statue. And if not, let's change the rules or whatever it might be. And if not, how are we going to honor Emmett? And how are we going to honor Wilbur Marshall and the names of players that you mentioned? Eric Rett, great player. I don't know. I think Florida did a pretty good job of honoring, but what are it's about the statues, Shane.
Yeah, well,
that's what they're tearing down, the statues.
I think those statues that are out in front of our stadium are my personal opinion is because they won the Heisman Trophy. If you don't have that small area or how you critique who's going to go up there, then if you put Rex Grossman up there, why isn't Chris Lee? I mean, you could end up having a million statues around there. I personally think those three are because they won the Heisman Trophy.
Okay, well, that's a good conversation to have, and I don't disagree with you. I just need to know what the criteria are.
Now, I know what the criteria are. It's the Ring of Honor, and the next two people that should go in the Ring of Honor are Carlos Alvarez and Lomas Brown. They're the only two people that qualify other than Urban. Right. Eric Rett does not qualify to go into the Ring of Honor. Percy Harvin does not qualify to go in the Ring of Honor. Right. I don't qualify to go in the Ring of Honor. So they either change that for more people to get in the Ring of Honor, or they keep it the way it is. And but anyway,
I agree with you. And by the way, I know you got a guest today, and I want to say this about something about him. But before we do, just close off with this: know better, do better. I think we're seeing already the cheers change. What's going to happen? I think we see the songs are changing somewhat, because We Are the Boys is maybe under assault because it's about boys and not about men and women. I don't think it's ridiculous, but that's just me. But we've already got it brought in Don't Back Down, which is becoming a new tradition, a good one. So that's somewhat changing. And I think any other traditions that we have, I hate to bring it up, they're going to be names of people names are out there, just like they were every place else. They're going to have to be evaluated, because if there's, and again, If you talk about people who had racist backgrounds and were overtly racist, then they had to make some tough decisions because President Fox has opened that door now. The question is, how do we dig deep and how do we get that? Vernell Brown, I want to say, is your guest. I know
Yes, he is.
he has such a good story to tell, and I hope you get a chance to talk to him about his role the night the plane came back. I believe it was Columbia, and stayed out on the tarmac for 2 hours. And Urban Meyer and the coaches had a heart to heart with these guys about, and they got rid of some players because they were so unhappy about what had happened to the team. And that was a real big moment for Florida football and Urban Meyer. So I'm sorry for being dominating the conversation. I'm glad baseball's back, by the way. At least we'll have something.
Baseball is back?
Yep, as of yesterday, last night.
Really?
I missed that. Yeah, while we were on the air, they turned it down and they voted it down. And then last night, as I was on the air, they came to an agreement. Well, they got one more step to go, but they did approve it, and they're going to make a schedule now, 50 to 60 games. There'll be some kind of baseball.
All right, so before we get to Vernell Brown, who you got on the show tonight, buddy?
Some guy named Matthews.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll repeat some of this conversation. And you're such a great representative for the University of Florida, Shane. And this show has been really great for educating people. What you're doing right now, with bringing back the players to talk, is one of the most important things you could do, or we could do, in this crisis situation. Let's talk to people. Let's have these conversations. A lot of great players. I don't mean to be preaching a sermon. Vernell Brown is an example. You have the opportunity as a former player to get guests on. I don't. I think it's a great thing to have this dialogue. So you have a great show. We're also going to have our friend David Moulton from down in Southwest Florida, who does works for CBS during the football season, works in the press box, also does his own show in South Florida, talking about season or no season. Because right now, the way things are going, it's not looking too good.
That's right, buddy. Well, we appreciate you joining the show. I'll talk to you tonight. You can follow Buddy Martin at Buddy Show on Twitter. Check him out on the Buddy Martin Show on Facebook Live, Monday through Thursday around 9 o'clock Eastern. Buddy, be safe, my man. We'll talk to you tonight.
Thanks, Sheener.
That's Buddy Martin. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida. Center State has 5 convenient locations to serve you better. Come in and experience the Center State difference. To learn more, visit centerstatebank.com. Center State Bank, member FDIC. We're going to take a first time out of the program. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Vernell Brown Jr. talking Gator football and his career. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. The Best Restoration, Masters of Disasters. Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. Peachland Dental, Gator fans' first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Aikido America Martial Arts and After School,
Doreen Weeby Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish,
Radware, Wrap Spot,
and Style Cuts.
If you are interested in promoting your business on this show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
He's looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown!
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews and Warner from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's a Tuesday edition. Hey, folks, Celebration Point is where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. We're going to go now back to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by former Gator Vernell Brown Jr. Good morning, Vernell. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, man. I'm great, man. How you guys?
Doing great. Vernell is the Director of Football, Student Athlete Development, and Pro Liaison for the Gator football team. Vernell, before we talk about what's been going on in the world, let's go back to your days growing up here in Gainesville. You were a star athlete at Gainesville High, Purple Hurricane. I know you played basketball and football there. Did you always want to be a college football player, or did you ever have any aspirations of maybe playing hoops in college?
Well, to be honest with you, my dad, he kind of introduced me to the game of football, and I kind of picked up basketball on my own, and he showed me a few things with that, and kind of just, there was a lot more opportunities when I was younger to play basketball than football, so I became pretty good in football, through AAU. In basketball through AAU and all those sorts of things. So my aspirations were pretty much always to play football. Because my dad set me down early on and said, hey, man, we hadn't put aside any money, send you to college, but, with your abilities and if you let me show you some things, you probably can get a scholarship. So that was always a goal of mine as a kid to get a college scholarship, to play football. And then as I progressed through and got to high school and started playing basketball, I played basketball, varsity basketball my freshman year, and was pretty good at it. And I had some people that say, man, you might be better in basketball than you are in football. However, I knew I was only 5'9". The chance of me playing in the NBA was slim to none, and my childhood aspirations was to get an athletic scholarship to play football and hopefully go on and play in the NFL.
So when you're being recruited there at GHS, and I believe you played quarterback, and back in those days, they usually just put the best athlete at quarterback and tell them to make plays. Coach Spurrier was the one that actually recruited you. What other schools were you think? I mean, I know you grew up a Gator. Was there any possibility of you signing anywhere else but with Florida?
I had Miami and North track scholarships initially. And so that was kind of what they were talking with me. And I ran track in high school and I could run, but I wasn't really into running track. And I would have had to run that first year. So Miami kind of was out. And then it was between North Carolina and Florida. And I actually had just come back from my official visit at North Carolina. And Julius Peppers was actually my host. There, and I actually enjoyed it. I got a chance to go to see Duke, to go to see NC State, and also, my actual visit was at North Carolina, so I had a little fun up there and really enjoyed it. And it was honestly considering it. And then at the last minute, I went on with what I've always wanted to be, and that's a Gator.
So, Coach Spurrier, as I mentioned, recruited you. Talk a little bit about, he's a unique guy, what it was like being recruited by him. And then once you get here, he decides to leave and go coach the Redskins.
He's definitely a unique guy. He was different from any coach that I had ever had, prior to coming to college. One of those guys that, he wants you to get things done, but I can tell you this, you wasn't, when it came to football practice, you wasn't working extremely hard. He was more about working smart than hard, making sure that you got everything right, accomplished everything, got what you need to get done on the field and get off the field. But other than that, man, I mean, it was great. He ended up leaving after I redshirted that first year. So he ended up leaving after that. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in Applebee's eating on 13th Street, man, and sitting there watching ESPN, and it comes across the bottom line. Next thing I know, I get a call about a team meeting. And so, that was the end of Coach Spurrier at the University of Florida. I thank him for giving me my opportunity there, and what I learned from him my redshirt year, and the rest is history, man.
Yeah, so you had a unique career. You had 3 different head coaches. Like you said, your first year you have Spurrier, last year you have Urban Meyer, in between you have Ron Zook. Just talk a little bit because we're going to talk about you once you got done playing, you kind of started coaching yourself youth football. What you learned from all 3 of those coaches that you kind of took whenever you try to mentor the young kids?
Coach Spurrier, as I told you, he was a unique coach about, maximizing the time that you have with guys. Coach Zook was a hard-nosed, hard-working guy, kind of learned that through him. And then Coach Meyer was one of those ones. He put it all together, and he was a little bit more in tune to what was going on off the field with his players than necessarily just on the field. So throughout my tenure with all three of them, man, I think I learned a lot that actually, when I started my coaching career at the youth level, helped me a lot. And to be honest with you, still helping me today in my role at the University of Florida now.
Yeah, Vernell, when Urban Meyer, your senior year, you were voted a team captain. He also named you the face of Florida football. Just talk a little bit about what it meant. I don't think people that haven't played team sports understand what it means when your peers vote you as a captain.
It's a big deal. One of the things I've always prided myself in, and part of the reason because I was always undersized and always told I couldn't do it. It is working hard and not working everybody and just using my God-given abilities, which I was, thankfully, I was an extreme athlete, just a small guy. And so that kind of pushed me over the edge, man. And once again, my goal was always to outwork everybody and be better than everybody, despite my size. So you can't look at me and say he can't because he's too small, he's too short. And so that was always a goal of mine. And to be honest with you, to be voted by your peers as a captain, man, was a big deal. One surprising to me though, because that's kind of had always been my MO. I never forget Brandon Sala asked me one day, and Brandon was a young guy my senior year. He said, "Man, VB, you always been this good, man, and you just flipped the switch." You know what I mean? I say, well, man, you can ask anybody out here. I hadn't done anything different than what I've been doing, man. Just, giving the opportunity and just having fun, man. That's it. And so that's a big deal. The face of Florida football, I was always one of those guys and was kind of raised this way to try to do everything right, both on the field and off the field. So at that time, I had a daughter, and, I would come work out at 6 o'clock sometime, bring her with me. And she would sit in her carry while I work out. And then after that, drop off to daycare and come on back to class. So I think, those things and just doing everything the right way and being a hard worker on the field, man, kind of contributed to Coach Meyer calling me the face of Florida football, because I always, was a leader and always tried to do things the right way.
We're speaking with Vernell Brown on the Titan North Hotline. You can follow him on Twitter at CoachVB_UF. Vernell, had Buddy Martin on before you came on the show, and he said for me to ask you about a story that when Urban was coaching here, y'all had some type of team meeting on a plane.
Yeah, I mean, it was we've always had. He always said different things. It was never one of those things you land and get back. He always had a meeting. But we had meetings all the time on the plane where he just kind of talked, gave us a recap of what happened and where we were going moving forward, man. So we kind of done that quite a bit. So I'm not sure exactly which one he's referring to, but we've done that quite a bit, man.
So Vernell, my question again, don't take this the wrong way, because it's probably relates to me as well. Do you think if you were coming out of high school, like right now, do you think a school like Florida would be recruiting Vernell Brown?
I can say this, man. I think the recruiting world has changed, and because of all the rivals and all that good stuff, and now I think a lot of schools are more in tune to the attributes than the actual player. Mm-hmm. So I tell my kids all the time, man, I'm not so sure I get an opportunity at the University of Florida in today's world versus when I came out. I think the attributes and the game has changed. The positions, what they're looking for in positions has changed. It's not just about being able to play anymore. They want you to fit a certain mold. So I'm not sure, man. I don't know if I get an opportunity at the University of Florida in today's climate.
So when you came out as a senior, you were how tall and how big were you?
I was about 5'8.5", 5'9", and I signed at Florida 143 pounds, man.
Well, hey, so I was 6'1.5", 165 pounds when I signed myself. They wouldn't even be looking at me. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
That's freaking hilarious. We were some small jokers, no question about it. Vernell, we had a text here on the Titan MR text line. If you want to send Vernell a text, it's 352-353-7465. Joseph wants to know, what was your favorite moment as a Gator?
I don't know, man. I had a lot of moments. I would say one that comes to mind right now, man, is after I broke my leg against Vanderbilt my senior year. I worked my behind off to get back for that bowl game against Iowa in the Outback Bowl, man. So just being able to step on the field and then not only that, get a pick six in that game was a big deal for me. So that would definitely have to be one of my favorite moments. Like I said, I have several of them, but that's the first one that comes to mind.
Talk a little bit about, I've always been intrigued with punt returners, and you were a very good punt returner. I don't want to say, were you ever nervous returning punts? Because sometimes you never know if those dudes are going to block for you. Just talk a little bit about, did you really enjoy returning punts?
I really did enjoy, returning punts, man. The biggest thing with returning punts is being able to feel the ball. I think if you have a pretty good knowledge and understanding of the game, that you're pretty much in control of what happens when you're back there catching that ball. So if it's hanging in the air and, you take a glance down and guys are running down scot-free, just throw your hand up, fair catch it, and just at that point, they can't hit you, so just focus on catching the ball. And the more you do it, the better you get at gauging where guys are, so forth and so on. But yeah, I enjoyed it, man. And like I said, I was pretty comfortable while I was back there returning it, being able to gauge what's happening and where the ball is. The main thing, if you can catch the ball, it makes the rest of the game easy. Because that's what's tough for most people.
Yep. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. June is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Visit them at wrapspot.com today. We're speaking with Vernell Brown. Vernell, once you were done playing, you've done a lot of good things with the youth, especially in the Gainesville area and down in the villages. Talk a little bit about how you enjoy working with young athletes.
Man, I can tell you, even, I enjoy working with our guys here at the University of Florida, but one of the things I enjoyed the most, and to be honest with you, miss today, is working with our young guys. When I first finished playing, Coach Meyer, tried to give me an opportunity to come into college sports, and I kind of didn't want to do that at the time because I wanted to have an opportunity to watch my kids grow up, man. So what I did was I got acquainted with the youth sector in Gainesville, and then I started my own program, the Gainesville Panthers, man, for just kids. Obviously, I have boys and girls that cheered, and just, man, to be able to give those kids the game the same way it's played at a high level, but at 6, 7, and 8 years old. My 8U team, we won nationals in 2015, man, and when we were playing, guys would literally stop playing, like, wherever they were coming out of the field, and at the end of the game, they're like, man, how in the hell do you get 7 or 8-year-olds to play the game that way? Because, we were literally just beating. We were demolishing teams. But, a lot of people know and understand the game, but where people have trouble coaching is making those young kids understanding it and putting it in terms in which they can understand. And that's something that I've always been gifted with doing, and I always had a connection with kids and enjoy working with kids. So, man, once again, I love my job. I love working with our guys, but I really miss working with our youth.
So you, like you said, you built some really good programs working with these young people. Then you get a call from Coach Mullen to come back and take her over, the working with the student athletes. I know you had to be excited. Obviously, you took the job, but how difficult was it to leave what you had built? And plus, you have young kids coming up in that program.
It was extremely difficult. Like I said, one of the reasons I had Coach Meyer gave me my first opportunity to come into college sports shortly after I finished playing, and I turned that down once again because I wanted to watch my kids grow up. So now here we are years later, another opportunity coming in to college sports. So I really had to sit down and consider, my kids at that time. My boys were getting a little older, and I felt like I had given them the foundation of the game of football. And it was probably time for them to start being coached by someone else. So that played a role into it. And then, once again, the job is really what I love to do, kind of what I've always done as far as mentoring and making sure guys understand not just football, but, how to survive outside of football. And so it was just a perfect fit. Coach Mullen's a really family-oriented guy. That was important to me, to be able to still spend time with my family and go to my kids' events, so forth and so on. And he assured me that I would be able to do, a lot of that stuff. So it was kind of just a perfect fit, man. And that's one of the reasons I took the job.
We're speaking with Vernell Brown. Again, you can follow him at Twitter at CoachVB_UF. Vernell, what was your favorite rivalry game to play at while you were here?
I don't know, man. I think Georgia and freaking Florida State were like neck and neck. Both of those games I enjoyed.
So let's talk about, a lot of the Gator Nation, they know you work there at the University of Florida now, but just kind of give them a rundown of what you actually do for the student athlete, for the football player.
As you said earlier, my position title is Director of Football Student Athlete Development, and then I'm also our pro liaison. And so with my Director of Football Student Athlete Development, I pretty much deal with everything outside of football. Any entity where it's administration, compliance, so forth and so on, I deal with all that, as it pertains to the University of Florida. When our guys set foot on campus, the parents drop them off, basically the me and the coaches, and the coaches are there, and they handle all the football stuff, and I handle everything outside of football, from housing, the scholarships, the budgets, the whole nine. So I kind of deal with literally everything outside of football, legal issues, the whole deal. I tell people all the time I have 5 kids of my own, but I got another 110 at work. So I want to know a little bit about everything. Speeding tickets, I want to know about it so I can put it on my calendar to make sure it get paid so it doesn't turn into a bigger issue. With my pro liaison, I deal with all the NFL scouts, coaches, and GMs as they come through pertaining to our guys. I implement our plan, for our guys to kind of prepare them for the draft, so forth and so on. And then the other thing that I really take pride in is our Gator Life program, which is designed to educate and prepare our guys for life outside of football. Through that program, we want to make sure our athletes are prepared to perform according to the Gator standard in every aspect of life. So that's a little bit about my role. I kind of wear many hats, man. But once again, I enjoy it. Love it.
No doubt about it. So, I see you out at practice all the time. Do you still get that coaching bug? And having been around college football now, and the hours that are spent, and you spend a lot of hours doing your jobs, do you have any aspirations of maybe coaching one day?
Man, to be honest with you, I enjoy going to practice because it does take care of that itch, you know what I mean, as far as coaching, so forth and so on. But right now, where I'm at, considering the age of my kids, I really don't have any aspirations to coach right now. I love my role. I think I'm more into, the operations and administrative side than I am the football side right now. That could change as my kids get older. But don't get me wrong, I'm still a football guy, still enjoy coaching football and learning football. But right now, I think my aspirations are on the operations and administrative side.
So, Vernell, you were here 1 year with Urban Meyer, and Dan was on his staff. And now Dan's back as the head coach. Is there a comparison between them as a head coach? What are the similarities between Urban Meyer and Dan Mullen as a head coach?
Well, I think first and foremost, they're both coaches that know and understand the game of football and know a lot of ball, and they both have a really great way to not only teach the game of football but to relate to their players. I think that's what separates, good coaches from great coaches, and I think both of those guys possess that and that's why they're great coaches.
Now, you got 1 year under Spurrier. See, my opinion of Coach Mullen, and you can agree or disagree with me, tell me I'm crazy. I really think he's got a lot of Urban in him. He's got a little bit of Spurrier in him too.
I think that's a great synopsis. You couldn't have said it any better, so I definitely agree with you on that. I think the one of the biggest things, in my opinion, from not just at the University of Florida, but even when I was coaching, I think you get a lot more out of your guys when they can relate to you. And I think all three of those coaches, even though it was in different, Coach Spurrier was totally different than Coach Mullen and Coach Meyer, but they all three possess that, and the players love to play for them.
So, Vernell, I had someone text me, but they knew you were going to be on the show. They wanted to know, are you allowed to help in the recruiting process at all? When kids come, I know when the kids come on campus, you can talk to them, but are you involved in the recruiting process at all?
To be honest with you, the only thing that I really do is obviously when they come on campus, they're going to meet with me. Cause like I say, I'm the guy that deal with the parents outside for everything outside of football. So I do a presentation when they come on campus, but outside of that, right now we're doing a bunch of virtual visits. So I have a segment in the virtual visit where I present to the kid and the family. But other than that, as far as the day-to-day recruiting, no. Once again, once they come on campus, I'm a part of the recruiting department, and then when during these virtual visits, I've been a part of recruiting. But other than that, I don't do any of the day-to-day phone calls, so forth and so on, unless a parent wants to speak to me about something.
So let's talk about what's been going on since around March. You had to pretty much tell everybody, pack up your stuff, get out the dorms or wherever and go home. And, now we've had athletes come back to campus around June 8th. How difficult has this whole process been, not only for you, but, athletes are so used to a structured schedule. I'm sure it's been difficult on you as well as long with the student athletes.
Well, it's definitely been different. A lot of new protocol put in, obviously for the safety of our players and our staff. So just coordinating when guys are arriving back in town, making sure they get tested before they can utilize any of the facilities, or really be in contact with any staff. So that's kind of been the main thing, making sure we have hotels for guys to stay in if they're on campus, so forth and so on, because they can't move into the dorm until the test result come back. So it's been different. However, I think through all of this, we've been able to find new ways to connect. You know what I mean? New ways to connect, new ways to do things, and some of this stuff, I'm not sure when COVID's going to disappear or leave, but whenever it leaves, some of this stuff will still stick. You know what I mean? Because it's just more efficient to do things that way. So I think, that's one of the things we've done at the University of Florida is figured out how to navigate that with the safety of our players and our staff in mind, and really done a great job of it.
Vernell, tell us a little bit, because I've been preaching for years that we needed a football standalone facility. Talk about, from your standpoint, your job, how important that new facility, when it's done, how it's going to benefit Florida football.
It's a huge deal, and I'm not sure how long you've been preaching it, but it's been needed forever. And I think it'll catch us up in a lot of ways, as far as not only catch us up, but put us ahead of a lot of schools who already have them. It'll be, to have everything right there. One of the things that was a big deal in selling that facility is if you add up the amount of miles you walk as a football student athlete from the stadium to the practice field, throughout your 4 to 5 years there, man, that's a lot of walking and a lot of time, to be honest with you, that you can consider wasted. So having that standalone right there by the practice facility, everything being right there, definitely put us, if not equal, definitely ahead of a lot of schools in recruiting.
Facebook Live comment here brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred business interruption attorneys. Brian says, Vernell is a class act and a huge asset to the Gator football program and the Gainesville community. Got a few more minutes with you here, Vernell, and I really do appreciate you taking the time. Florida claims to be DBU, whether it's Florida or LSU or whatever. We've had some really good defensive backs come through here for many, many years. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who is the best defensive back, Vernell Brown, besides yourself, that you've ever seen play here in a Gator uniform?
I don't know, man. That's hard to say, man. Once again, like you said, we've had some great DBs come through. I played with some great DBs, and then I watched some great DBs. So it's hard to say who's the best. I will say, and obviously I'm gonna be biased because I'm a Gator, but I will say that the University of Florida is definitely DBU.
Well, I agree with that. I think we have some outstanding defensive backs. I think CJ is going to be a tremendous pro. I think Marco Wilson has a chance. I think Elam has a chance. So we got some good players back there, no question about it. So last couple of things. Does Vernell Brown think we're going to start college football season on time?
Right now, man, the way things are looking, I'm pretty optimistic about it starting on time. At the end of the day, all we can do is follow the guidelines of the NCAA. And right now, they're slated to start mandatory workouts on the 13th, and we're starting training camp on the 7th. I think it is 7th or the 9th, one of them. And so that's the mindset that Vernell Brown is in. That's the mindset that the University of Florida is in right now.
Yeah, last thing I want to ask you, because I was asking some other former players that have been on my show this as well. Back when we played, and I'm much older than you, but back in '92, my senior year, we had to play two true freshmen at offensive tackle, Reggie Green and Jason Odom, which was never heard of back in those days, true freshmen playing, especially at those positions.
Mm-hmm.
Kids nowadays don't want to be redshirted, right? They want to come in and play right away.
Majority of the kids, when they come in, they do want to play right away. And I think that's attributed to, once again, all the, back in our days, they didn't really have the star ratings like that. But now, kids, they have the star ratings, they get to travel the country and play, compete against other kids, and they come in a lot of the time because they dominated in those settings, feeling like they can dominate at the collegiate level, which, you and I, we both know that's a big task. That's a tall task to say you come from high school to SEC football at the University of Florida and be ready to start and actually dominate. The chances of it happening is probably slim to none. You and I know that, but a lot of the time in today's climate, kids, they feel like, hey, I want to come in and play right now.
Yeah, well, Vernell, we appreciate you taking the time, my man. You do a tremendous job over there. I know firsthand, taking care of my kid. Keep doing your thing, my man, and hopefully we'll be kicking it off here soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me, man.
All right, that's Vernell Brown Jr. joining us on the Titan MR Hotline. We're going to take our last time out of the program. When we come back, we're going to wrap it up. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey, time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. The Best Restoration, Masters of Disasters. Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. Peachland Dental, Gator fans' first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Aikido America Martial Arts and After School,
Doreen Weeby Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish,
Radware, Wrap Spot,
and Style Cuts.
If you are interested in promoting your business on this show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
He's looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up. Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. This day in sports is brought to you by the Best Restoration. Do you have COVID-19 concerns? Do what everyone is doing and hire the Best Restoration to fully sanitize and sterilize your home or office. Visit their offices this week for a free bottle of hand sanitizer when you mention the code Shane. Call them at 352-234-8994. This day in sports. Back in 2003, Barry Bonds steals second base against the LA Dodgers, becoming the first player in Major League Baseball history to have 500 career homers and 500 steals. That's brought to you by the Best Restoration. Excuse me. I want to thank Buddy Martin and Vernell Brown for joining the show. Tomorrow's program, former Gator player and coach Jimmy Ray Stevens, coached Danny Werfel in high school. So that should be a very good interview. He'll be joined with Ryan Fowler from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, talking Alabama football. And Thursday, we have Aubrey Monroe. I can't wait to have her on to see what's going on in her world. She plays for the USA softball team. But that's pretty much, don't forget to follow us on Facebook Live. You can check us out on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Today's show is a wrap brought to you by WrapSpot. A vehicle wrap from WrapSpot will give your business years of brand recognition and increased sales. Call WrapSpot today. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.